Hi, Gilbert Mwale here. So, last time I was talking about how that you need to make sure that you plan out your farm and you put the right things there. I spoke about some infrastructure that you need. One of the first things I always say is that if you have a very big piece of land, let's say for example you have like 10 hectares, that's pretty big. So for you to just start out and start putting investments on it, sometimes you may have the money and sometimes you may not. And in the case where you don't have a lot of money, because the first advice I always give is that, please make sure you fence around your farm. So if you do not have enough money to put up, the right fence type, this is what I would say is that first of all, if you can go ahead and find, simple, ask your team to get, simple poles, because probably most of your farm is obvious is bushes, bush, different bush. To be a bush most times, you have a lot of trees, thickets, and all those things. So you could get some of the places there, get some of the trees, not everything, obviously. Get some of the trees or buy already, chopped logs, short ones, not something very long. Anything that ends in your waist about there, get those ones, put them on the rest of the side of the farm, while the side where you are going to have, the other infrastructure which you're going to be starting with is where you're going to put, what you would call game wire, and if you are thinking of, where you can be able to get, the best game wire or a good deal with a lot of advice on how to do it rightly. I'm not endorsing anybody or advertising on behalf of anybody, but I think I've noticed that if you go to guys like Livestock Services in showgrounds, they'll definitely, give you a lot of advice. They'll tell you the kind of pause you need for that, and the gate that you require, as well as also the wire itself, and give you a lot of alternatives that will meet your budget. So please visit them. I have nothing with that, but I would say that, put that, that game wire on the side of the fence that you, first of all, you can afford, but on the side of the farm where you'll be doing the actual, you'll be starting out with the actual farming activities. For example, if you're going to be keeping chickens, where you're going to put your, your chicken runs. If it's the pigs, where you're going to put, the pig houses, whatever, if it's the vegetables, the area where you grow them, first, or if it's your winter maize, which side of the farm are you going to start with? That is where you can put your game wire. So it could just be an acre or two, whatever you can afford. So put that side, the game wire, and then the rest of the farm, put the smaller poles and pass barbed wire there, just to send a message to people that, look, somebody owns this place. Because, some people never, get to respect what other people are doing. So if they just see that nobody seems to be taking responsibility of this side, you'll find they start building something, or they put their own wire, and you put yourself in a lot of lawsuits and court case activities, and you don't want to be found doing that. Well, they'll still do it even with your wire there, but at least if they're a little bit fearful, you would have fended them off earlier on. Now, having said that, on the side where you have put the game wire, or a better, more secure type of wire, is that on that side is where I advised last time that you could actually have a few things. Now, I'm not a site planner or any of those things, so please get my advice from the angle of, the experience I've had, with viewing other people's farms, and then, being able to go back to the beginning of those who are looking at wanting to start getting into farming. So I'm not going to be the guy that draws your farm for you, and plans out enterprises in that manner. But I can give you advice in this case from the angle of what I've seen working for other people and what works well, what has worked well even for me and my family. So here's my advice. So put up on the side where the fence is, put up what you would call, your house, your borehole, and the other items that you may need. So now, concerning the house, I advise that I would be able to share thoughts on that a little bit later. Here is how, I usually advise that the house, the house structure, like literally looks like. And listen, I am not an architect, neither an engineer. I think the closest I ever got was doing GMD, and I don't think that qualifies for any of that. So I'm drawing this, based on what I have seen work, and there's a reason for this. is that these are literally the first door as a second door. So, and there's a first room and the second room for one side, and the first room and second room for one side. So, meaning that you have on minimum 2 houses for your farm workers. And this is where I begin the majority of my lesson today, is that avoid having, because you'll be saying, why should I be having two houses? Is that one for me and one for the caretaker? The answer is no, because most people tell us you can't farm, you can't get results on the farm unless you are there. So you need to have one of them. Well, yes and no. It's not really necessary. How is ShopRite working? How is all these other big companies running without the owners, the actual owners being there every day or every week or every month, sometimes even every year? So we're gonna get to that a little bit later, but for now, I want to share a few things about the kind of people that you want to have in these 2 houses. So these are your farm workers, not your caretaker. So don't hire a caretaker, because most people hire a caretaker so they can get somebody who just okay, come and keep my farm so that nobody steals from the farm. By the way, if you're laughing at my board, this is my son's drawing board. I just borrowed it. I hope he doesn't cry about it. But here's the thing: when you hire a caretaker and then you expect the caretaker to deliver results, it's not going to happen. You'll be frustrated year on year. So here's what we have done, when it comes to farm workers. We've categorized farm workers into 3 layers, and we say with the first layer here, we call them handy workers, or what you call caretakers. Others call them casual workers in different organizations. Now, with a handy worker, just as their name is, they are very good with their hands. Is that they can do anything. You tell them to plow the field, you tell them to weed it out with with their hands, they'll go ahead and do that. Plant, they'll get it done. You tell them to clean the piggery house, perfectly well. And they are tough, strong, and handy, as the name says. Most farms, for emergent farms to be specific, what am I talking about? People who have either just retired or are actually running a farm while working, a day job, is that most of them, actually, their farm workers are casual workers. And why is that the case? Because they are prioritizing, spending less money, the least money spent on the farm. And how is that so? A casual worker or handy worker, in most cases, will cost you between, most people will pay them, between 800 kwacha to 1,600 kwacha. Now, I don't know whether this is, right with, minimum wage and all those things. Don't ask me where those people are. All I'm just simply saying is, based on my observation, I have seen that people pay them that. And the next thing, there's they give them a house where to stay, and every single, at least a week or two, they are calling you, pestering you about, could you send me money for food? Food has finished, because you are the one that buys them the mini meal, you buy them carpenter, soya pieces, all these things for them to eat, and those things finish every week or two at least, and you are getting calls over that. And I'm pretty sure it's tiring. And that's obviously one of the disadvantages with them. But people love them because they can get the work done, and they don't demand a lot in terms of a fixed salary, to be specific. So people have them on their farms. Some of the challenges with them is, number one, I said, is that you keep on, medical bills, you have to send money, food, you have to send money consistently. But number two, the other challenge with them is that they also a lot of times are not proactive, because of the fact that they lack agricultural education. So they haven't been to any agricultural school, except maybe attended a 1 day or 2 days or 1 week quick class somewhere, on a particular item, how to grow this, how to keep that, these trainings that we are attending all the time, technically. So usually they lack the science of agriculture. So most times they will rarely be in a field, look at your plants and go and diagnose to say, this is the problem and I need this chemical or I need this product or I need that, and then go ahead and treat, either your animal or your crop, and then just inform you to say, boss, I have actually taken care of the issue. There was this that I saw in the field or with the animals, and this is how I dealt with it. So you rarely get that kind of call. Every time you get a call, most 80% of the people are dreading that call because they know that call is one other problem. Either an animal, a cow has dropped, or a goat has dropped, chickens are dying, 20 of them went down, or you, when you are walking around the field, then you notice problems and you have to tell them to say, hey, can you correct this issue? Or you have to buy the chemicals, mix them yourself, and then give them to apply. And sometimes that is exhausting because look, what's the whole point of hiring people that you have to actually do the work? Again, one of our clients actually shared a very interesting perspective that I got to love. And they said this. They said, Mr. Mwale, I need help with finding somebody who's good at this. I was like, but you have 2 people at your farm. What is the problem with them? And then she said, Mr. Mwale, I mean, she does layers, chicken layers, and they're at a stage where they're producing eggs. So she said, Mr. Mwale, honestly speaking, I have to go to the farm every single day. There are 2 people there, but I have to go there every single day. I said, why? When you have 2 people? She said, because the 2 people that are there are literally just accompanying my chickens. I found that hilarious, but I got her point. The idea was that they are really not thinking through or planning ahead on how to take care of the eggs they're producing. Sometimes they may be able to even, keep aside some of them. And I'll come to why they do that. I'm not saying it's their fault. I'll explain to us a little bit later why this happens a lot. Now, that's handy workers for you. They don't understand the science of agriculture. So they could have 2 years, 3 years, 10 years of experience in growing a particular product or keeping certain animals, but they don't understand the science. So that is as far as they can go. There'll be no record keeping on the farm. Neither will there be strong initiative going on the farm. They don't understand your dream. And I know a lot of you farmers, farm CEOs, I call you, have a lot of dreams, big picture thinking. Look, this is what I want us to do with my farm, and they never get it. And you've been wondering why. Well, because that's just their nature. They think about today. There's nothing wrong with them. I mean, that's just the situation. They think about eating today. How do I benefit today? Not in the future. I don't care about where you want to take this farm. I care about what I can get today. So that's, layer number 1. So layer number 1 is handy workers. Layer number 3 is usually what we call brainy workers. They use a lot of their brain, and most times, and I don't want people in this category to shoot me, but a lot of times you find people with higher qualifications in this group, people who have done degrees, master's degrees in agriculture, and a lot of times those who have not gone through, the opportunities of doing internship, which is very rare, but as well as also they have not applied themselves during internship or have not had experience anywhere, practically to be specific, but have done a lot of research work and have done a lot of, just information gathering in class. Is that this group, the interesting thing with them is that they think a lot. They've got a lot of ideas about what agriculture could become and what your farm could become. So if you bring them on your farm, most times, if you're an emergent farm to be specific, is that they will have a lot of ideas. If we keep these pigs well, what would happen is that, if we can grow the number of these pigs in the shortest possible time by doing X, Y, Z, and then we can begin to process them into this kind of product and that kind of product and that kind of product, we can sell them to these suppliers and so many ideas. I mean, that's their strength, to give ideas, to give thoughts, to give ideas, to give dreams, Now, the challenge that is there is that you, the owner of the farm, have dreams and ideas. And what you are praying for is that you are saying I am busy or I'm not an expert. So I am hoping that the guy I employ would also implement my dreams. The challenge that is there with the brainy workers is that they too don't know how to implement what you are dreaming. So the two of you will be dreaming together the whole entire time, 1 year, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and nothing comes out of both your dreams. So, said a lot of things, but very little came out. But interestingly, they get paid quite a lot more. Anything above 5,000 kwacha going up there. And you'll be wondering, how is it that they get more money than the person that is handy? Well, because in bigger organizations, seed suppliers and the likes, or certain commercial firms, they like and value this kind of people because they are good at research. They are also good at thinking. But for your emergent firm, some of them, not everybody, because some who know what they're doing, but a majority don't. They are cut for the top tier. And there's nothing wrong with that. If your firm grows to a certain level, that's the kind of people you want to have in your top management. But while you are still trying to rise and start, they are not going to be the best. Most especially for the 2 rooms that I indicated, these ones, you definitely do not want to have one of them in this because you have a challenge with that. So there's a 3rd tier that I left out. So handy worker, and then on top here we have got the brainy workers, and then here we have what is called the hybrid workers. Now, hybrid workers, as the name is, are simply a combination of handy workers and the brainy workers. So these guys will do quite a lot. They mostly have a diploma or certificate in agriculture. It could be in animal agriculture, crop science, which is animal science, crop science, general agriculture, so many different types of agriculture, fish farming, diploma or certificate from any one of these colleges that are there in Zambia. One of the beautiful things that is there that we have not come to realize as a nation, or most people in the nation, is that the makeup of these people's education is very practical. So it's got one side where they're learning theory, and on the other side where they're doing practical work. So they are out on the field, plowing and doing all those things. And another thing that I want to add is that some of them have come from a background where they were, like guys in Southern Province who, grew up keeping animals. Others in other parts of the country as well were keeping animals or were farming, crops and anything like that. And then they just loved agriculture so much that they now, entered into college. And that's the best person you want to have. So that's the group that we're talking about when we're talking about hybrid. And a lot of times, some people, get to pay them anywhere between a 3,000 kwacha to 4,500, depending on, what they're coming to do. Obviously, you give them a place to stay. And I'm advocating that they should be the ones being in one of the houses this side, while a casual worker, or what we call a handy worker, should be in the other room this side. So you have got 2 of them, because that's the only weakness with a hybrid worker, is that you are not going to have them for 1,500 or for 1,000 kwacha. Number 1. Number 2 is that you are not going to have them as well alone on the farm doing everything, like literally plowing, cleaning everything. No, you want them slightly in junior management between you and the other person who's the handy worker in the other room. So they'll be doing some work physically as well, but while leading the other person who's the handy worker. And mostly you give them a responsibility of where you call them farm assistant supervisor and not farm manager, because you want them to keep on doing, supervision work on your behalf while they supervise the handy worker. So this is why I always advocate for this 2-roomed house, so that you are able to employ 2 types of people at a go. And this kind of plan, I see it working so well for several of the clients that I've that we have helped. At least now more than 15 of them who are using this model and working with farm assistant supervisors, is that you need a hybrid and you need a handy worker for your farm to thrive. Farm CEOs, I'm so glad that you could be listening in, and I believe that if we do these things so well, if we set a plan and structure up our farms rightly, don't be in a hurry, structure our farms rightly, and then build the right house with the right people, we are headed in the right direction. So I'll probably talk about a bit more, on things to do with a hybrid, and how you can manage them or run with them, so that you can be able to get the best results from your farm. Thank you.